This is Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.
Welcome, my friends. You are listening to Enjoy Incredible Health with me, your host, Dr. David Vitko. I'm a chiropractic physician who's been practicing in the quaint and beautiful small town of Columbiana, Ohio for the last 34 years. It's summer, and I am thankful. Healthful foods are all around us. Be sure to visit a local farm market today. If you don't have any in your town, come to Columbiana. Farm markets are everywhere around our area, and the produce is delicious, and they do a great job. So this is a really important show. I feel the need to share something with you today, something very personal, something very troubling for me. But I think it's an important thing, and I think it's going to help a lot of people, and that's why I'm here doing this, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. I've been torn in so many directions emotionally, mostly, that more than I ever have in the last 2 weeks. And for me, it's the most difficult show I'll ever do. But it's critical for you to hear what I have to say and take it to heart and use it to save your life. What I tell you today is not to gain sympathy. That's not why I'm here. I'm sharing this so you can learn from it. So please do yourself a favor and listen closely. And, if you have friends that usually listen to the show and haven't heard it, make sure they go to drvitkohealth.com and listen to today's show as a podcast and make sure they hear it because it's really important. So, no one ever wants to believe they could get cancer and think that they might only have a short time to live. The emotions that flood into your head at that realization are truly overwhelming. And I'm a pretty strong guy, but I can't explain the devastating impact it's had on my thoughts. This past week, I was diagnosed with cancer of the esophagus, and it's not a good diagnosis to hear. If you're not sure what the esophagus is, it's basically the tube that connects your mouth to your stomach. So every time you eat something, and all those things we take for granted that we eat and just goes down and goes on and gets digested, it is, it's through the esophagus from your mouth to your stomach. And it's not as simple as a tube. It's a muscular tube. So anything that you swallow after you chew it, this tube contracts rhythmically and gradually moves the food or drink down to your stomach. The esophagus is about 10 inches long, and it is it's a great thing when it's working. But I'll talk to you about how I found out mine wasn't working right here shortly. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to go into detail. So many people, when they might think when you swallow something, it just drops right into your stomach. But anyone who has trouble swallowing knows that's not the case. When you have trouble swallowing, the journey food or drink makes from your mouth to your stomach is a slow, painful trip many times, causing you to gag or spit up or many different things. So that's what prompted me to go to the doctor. I couldn't swallow food without pain. Even water started to hurt after a bit. And I had chest pain whenever I would eat. It would last for an hour or so after I ate. And I knew it wasn't a heart issue. My blood pressure's great. My cholesterol's been low for a long time. My total cholesterol is like 130. I mean, it's as healthy as you can get. I exercise every day. It wasn't something else. It wasn't a heart issue. At first, I thought it was a stricture, a tight spot in the esophagus that would stop food from passing through, making it back up and making me gag and spit food back up depending on what I ate. You may remember, I spoke about that. I think it was July 28th. But, yeah, so eventually I got to the point where I had to go get scoped. And that's the upper GI scope, upper gastrointestinal scope, where the doctor puts a camera down through your mouth into your esophagus, down to the bottom of your stomach, all the way to the duodenum, which is where the stomach connects to the small intestine, and then pulls the camera back out slowly and looks at the whole thing, looks for ulcers, strictures, cancer, all kinds of things. And the plan was to find whatever was there, which the doctor and I both thought would be a stricture, and had enough time scheduled to treat it by stretching it open a bit more to let food pass. None of my doctor friends nor I thought we would find cancer. I'm the picture of health. As a matter of fact, I would put my health at the very top of the 60-year-old men I've ever met. All of my blood work is great. I exercise daily. I eat a diet of 95, perhaps as much as 98% whole foods in a plant-based diet. I only have a beer or a glass of wine on rare occasions. I drink plenty of water each day. I'm a very healthy 170 pounds at 6'1". I'm healthier than I've ever been in my life. Even despite the cancer diagnosis, I still feel healthier than I've ever been. And that's probably something that has saved my life at this point, and we'll talk more about that. I never smoked. I was never terribly obese, although I did live a good part of my life overweight. And there was no immediate family history of cancer. There was no reason on the face of the earth or in the heavens for me to think I could ever get cancer. Likewise, for my doctor's thinking, I just didn't fit the profile of people that get esophagus cancer. But when I awoke from the upper GI scope that my doctor did, my doctor said, you could tell he didn't know what to say, and he said, I don't know what to think. We'll have to see what the pathology reports say before we make a diagnosis. I knew right then I was in trouble. And he's a great guy. I've known him for a long time, and I know he knew at that point. He just didn't want to say. So, by the way, speaking of nice, I have to tip my hat to these people. The nicest, most caring, compassionate people you will ever meet are at Southwood Surgical Center. As a matter of fact, it extends to their imaging center as well. Everything about Southwoods to me just screams class. I mean, these people do everything right. And that's a rare thing these days, don't you think? In a world that's just all centered around money. But they truly do an outstanding job at Southwoods. We're truly blessed to have such an incredible health facility in our area. So everyone, and I mean everyone that we met, my wife and I met in the past couple of weeks, are over the top nice and incredibly professional. I would never hesitate to seek care there. They're the best, in my opinion. Also, the Comprehensive Surgical Group in Northeast Ohio and Boardman are also some of the most wonderful people we've met. Dr. Steve Yvonne, who I actually have known for some time, is incredibly nice and highly skilled surgeon. The staff in their facility is top-notch. So I have no complaints, and you've heard me many times say that I highly respect modern medicine. They do a great job. Yeah, they don't really pursue prevention like they should for those who actually are in charge of health in this country. But, boy, am I thankful they're there, to some degree for what's going on now. So now I have to figure out what to do with my diagnosis. Later today, I'll receive the results from my PET scan. I went to the imaging center at Southwoods. They have a PET scan just a couple of days ago. And what a PET scan does, it's called positron emissions tomography. And what it does is you get an injection of a radioactive isotope, real mild. It doesn't hurt you, but it travels around your bloodstream. And you also drink some liquid that helps to set your organs off in a way that you can see them better on this. But what this scan does is it reads where the hot spots are in your cancer. So if your cancer has metastasized and you have hot spots in other organs distant from where it started, it'll pick that up, and it'll show it lights it up, actually, and makes it look a little brighter in that area. So I had this a couple of days ago, and I haven't really looked at the results yet. I haven't gotten it yet. But that'll help tell me how far progressed the cancer is. It's called staging. It gives you an idea how aggressive the cancer is and what my potential life expectancy is. So that is, if I'm not able to stop the progression of the cancer, which I am going to talk about here right shortly. That's the top of my mind right now, trust me. So I plan to stop it, and I plan to live many years to continue helping folks like you, my friends, to live healthfully so you have less chance of ever experiencing this troublesome diagnosis. It's no small order, though. Esophageal cancer can be pretty aggressive in most cases. Life expectancy can be as short as months. And it's said that only about 5 to 9% of people are alive in 5 years after the diagnosis. So I'm going to try to change that. I think I'm a little different in that I'm coming into it at a much higher level of health overall. And most people who fit the criteria for developing esophageal cancer are not in great shape when they come in. They're usually obese, and they're usually either smokers or drinkers, or they have a lot of things going against their health. And it's pretty hard to build your health up to a level where you can withstand that and also withstand the treatment and come out on top. So I think I'm in a good position to actually manage that better. So I plan to be the exception to those statistics. Now, my health is really good overall, and I should be light years ahead of people who usually get that diagnosis. And so we're going to see what we can do here, and I've settled on a direction for treatment that I'm going to go, and hopefully it's going to be the right direction. I feel good about it. I've really spent a lot of time investigating it, and so I'm going to share that with you here. But there are no guarantees, and I plan a concerted effort to eradicate the cancer and maintaining the highest level of health possible to actually improve on that, hopefully, as well. Traditional treatment for this diagnosis is not pretty. So it is surgical resection. So they actually cut your esophagus out, if you can imagine that. They cut out the esophagus, and they pull your stomach up and fasten it to the part of the esophagus that's left, where it comes out of your throat. And then you get the treat of chemotherapy and radiation therapy, both. And if those things don't kill you, there's a good chance you're going to die anyway from cancer spreading. So it's, to me, I've had people tell me, you get all kind of opinions from people on something like this. And I've had people tell me, oh, you should go do, doctors can fix it. No, they can't. They don't have a good treatment for this. And even if you do survive that part of it, the radiation can cause other tumors to start. And, the chemotherapy can kill enough healthy cells in your body to where your body can't maintain life. The chemotherapy that they give you for something like this is a heavy dose, and it's frequent enough, and they try to kill the cancer without killing all the cells, but it's not specific enough to go just to the cancer cells. It randomly kills cells in your body, including healthy cells. And unfortunately, a lot of times, too many healthy cells die, and that's why people getting chemotherapy often don't do well. That's why they lose their hair and get nauseated and sick and throwing up and all kind of crazy stuff, get real weak. And I'm sorry, folks, if I got 7 months or 10 months to live, I want to be able to do the best I can. I want to keep all my parts if I can, and I want to be able to thrive for as long as I can. I don't want to be laying in a hospital bed and leave my family with $1 million bill and, still be no further ahead, maybe live 2 more months because I had the best treatment available. No, thanks. Maybe my thinking is wrong on that, but it's my thinking and it's my body, and I'm going to choose what I think is best. So, as much respect as I have for medicine, holy crap, their treatment for this has not improved really over probably the last 50 years, other than the fact that the radiation therapy is more focused and the chemotherapy might be slightly, better than it used to be. They probably kill fewer people with that, but, I'm sorry. It just hasn't improved that much. So I'm going to take my chances, and I've chosen the direction I want to go. And my direction that I want to go, I think, is a very logical approach. And I think there's a lot of science behind it. And yes, there's some alternative therapy involved with it because that's my ballpark. And that's what I believe in fully. And yeah, I got cancer, but it's no fault of what I do, the way I eat. I think about that. People go, well, you're eating this healthy diet. Why didn't that prevent you from getting cancer? Well, look, I spent probably 53 years eating garbage, whatever I wanted, and drinking sodas and more beer than I should have, and being overweight, and, for 50-some years. Now, I've been working at a good diet for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, basically. And for the last year, I've been probably as strict as you can be because I enjoy eating that way and I enjoy the way I feel, not because I'm trying to limit myself. But, for a year I've been at it, you can't blame the diet. There's no way. I'm way healthier than I was, and I thank God for that because that's probably going to give me the edge I need to overcome all this. At least I hope so, and that's going to be my effort. So, chemo and radiation wear you down and make you sickly and weaker. And I don't think it's a smart way to try to kill cancer cells because you kill too many good cells. So my plan revolves around killing the cancer cells, which is from conventional medicine, and I'm all for it if we can kill them in a smart way, and also building my general health as strong as I can. And so that's my plan, and I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to lay it out, and it's going to be detailed. And if it works for me, it's going to be available, and I'm going to help everybody as much as I can because the hardest thing in this whole thing is to figure out which way to go. When you're coming down to the line, to the wire, and you have to make a decision on what treatment you're going to use that could either save your life or not save your life, it's a pretty big decision. And you just wouldn't believe the emotions that are involved with that. It's taken me aback because I'm generally not an emotional guy, but it is that deep. So I'm going to talk to you about this treatment that I'm going to pursue. It's called IPT. It's called insulin potentiation therapy. So that's the treatment to kill the cancer cells. I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm going to tell you why I think it's going to work. And by the way, thank you, IRA, for sending me to a website for a clinic that applies this treatment and talks about it. It's not the clinic that I chose, but the treatment is what I chose. And if everything works out, that's the way I'm going to pursue it. So for the last 2 weeks, I think I learned more about cancer than I did about treating back pain in 4 years of chiropractic school, I swear. I really immersed myself in this. And don't I talk to you about that all the time, about getting healthier, that you need to immerse yourself in it if you really want to benefit from it? And so I did that about cancer these past 2 weeks. I was in the research, deep in the research. I read some sites that were alternative sites with some crazy ideas. Be careful what you read about out there. If you have cancer, don't get hooked into some of these sites. I read some of the things people say, and I go, that should not even be allowed to be on the internet. There are people who say things that are just stupid. You're not going to fix cancer only by eating healthy. It's not going to happen. Your body's powerful, but it's not that powerful. When you get something like cancer, you better do something to eradicate the cancer cells, along with getting healthier. So it's a two-prong approach. You got to work at it. And it's a big job for anybody, even as healthy as I am. So here's the thing: we're going to talk about IPT, and I'm going to explain, what that is and how it works. So IPT is insulin potentiation therapy. Everybody knows about insulin; they use that to treat diabetics, right? Well, it just so happens it's very important for treating cancer as well, or could be very potentially huge in treating cancer. I think this should be one of the future treatments that's going to come along and make a big difference in treating cancer. But here's something you need to know about cancer cells and why I believe this treatment can work. Cancer cells love sugar. Beyond loving sugar, they thrive on sugar. So much so that they have more places on the outer membrane, the outer covering of a cancer cell, sort of like doors in a wall. They have more of those on cancer cells where sugar can get into the cell than normal body cells have, than healthy. There's more doors on cancer cells where sugar can get in than exist on healthy cells. As a matter of fact, cancer cells have like 100 times more doors where sugar can get in than healthy cells do. Is that an amazing fact? They need sugar. Sugar is their lifeblood. All our cells need sugar, folks. That's what our cells mainly use for energy, but not table sugar. Don't go scooping table sugar. It's the glucose that your body makes from the foods you eat. And the quality of the food you eat is really, really important. And so your body takes that food and breaks it down and either uses the amino acids to build proteins. You know, when you eat things that have the amino acids in them, which is pretty much all food has amino acids, or it breaks down the fats in things like nuts and fish and meats and things like that into fatty acids and uses those to build fats. But sugar can be made from almost everything you eat when it's broken down, and the body can create sugar from it. And sugar primarily is the brain's food. The brain uses sugar. Matter of fact, it's estimated the brain uses 75% of the sugar in the body. But all your cells need it. And cancer cells thrive on it. So it's I think, an Achilles heel for cancer. I think that if we take this weakness that sugar has, or that cancer cells have in needing sugar, and we use that against it, I think that could be huge. And I'll explain to you. Let's look at this. Let's look at the PET scan that I had, the positron emissions tomography. If you want to know that science actually believes in what I'm telling you about the cells, a PET scan works off that very theory. The whole day before I had my PET scan, I had to rest. There's a reason for that. And I also had to eat a specific diet. The last food of the day had to be more protein, fat, and no simple carbohydrates. So there's a reason for that. They were trying to lower my blood sugar a little bit. And then the day of the scan, they gave me a glucose solution coupled with this radioactive material so that the cancer cells, in their glut for sugar, that glucose that's attached or that's in with the radioactive stuff, the cells absorb that really quickly. And when we come back in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to explain to you how that correlates with this treatment that I'm going to do. This is Dr. David Vitko, and you're listening to Enjoy Incredible Health. Talk to you in a minute.
Welcome back to Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.
Okay, we're back. And I'm going to be honest with you here, folks. I kind of ran out of time to write notes on this, so most of what I give you now is off the top of my head. And I'm going to try to be as clear as I can on it. And I got about 15 minutes. I want to run through this and talk about this treatment. So I'm speaking to you today about my cancer diagnosis. I was diagnosed last week with esophageal cancer. It's not a good prognosis. I'm up against the wall on a lot of things, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I've chosen an alternative therapy that actually couples some traditional chemotherapy with non-traditional approaches. And so that's what I'm talking about right now. It's called IPT therapy. And if you need to know anything about it, you can call me and talk to me about it because I've read a lot and I know a lot. So look, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a cancer expert. I'm a chiropractor. I'm really good at treating backs. But, you know, I've really studied this over the last couple of weeks. I have a strong background in science and in health. And it's almost as if I studied this over the last couple of weeks like my life depends on it, because it does. And so I've really poured myself into it. Have you ever had something that you were looking into because your life depends on it? It makes a whole difference in how you look at things and how intently you study it. And I'm telling you that I put my work into this, and I'm very comfortable with the direction I've chosen to go. So I'm going to go back to talking about sugar, and I'm going to talk about the PET scan to show how Modern medicine actually embraces what I'm talking about with this treatment therapy called IPT. And they already embrace it because they use it with this PET scan. The PET scan is a positron emissions tomography. So it's like a CAT scan, but it uses a dye, basically a radioactive material that goes to the cancer cells. And then this machine, it's a CAT scan of sorts, it takes pictures and it can see where all this radioactive dye has accumulated in these cancer sites. So if you have these metastases where your cancer is growing in different parts of the body, all those areas light up, and so the doctors can see right where they are and how extensive that cancer is. So the way this works, the way that radioactive material, and by the way, it's mild, it doesn't hurt you. I didn't even notice it when it was injected in my vein. I didn't even feel a difference. So it's mild. But and it's a very small amount, amazingly, and you look at that and you go, how could that go all through the body and light up these cancers? But it does. And the way it does it is that it is given along with a glucose solution, basically. And that glucose solution helps those cancer cells absorb this radioactive material. And it's because cancer cells have this huge predilection towards sugar. So the glucose, I'm going to leave off the board. I'm not going to call that anymore. I'm going to talk sugar. And we'll just call it sugar. It's easier to think of. So you get this solution of these radioactive little cells or nucleotides, basically, and along with sugar, and that's attracted into these cancer cells. They light up, and the machine takes a picture, and it can see it. So medicine is already using this concept that IPT uses to treat cancer cells. Medicine uses it to identify cancer cells, and this IPT treatment is going to be used to treat it. And the way IPT works is basically they use insulin to lower your blood sugar temporarily. And so it'll lower the blood sugar to almost to the point of hypoglycemia, but not quite. And it gets the blood sugar down just enough, and it makes those cancer cells very hungry, more hungry. And don't forget, I said cancer cells have 100 times more openings on them to suck in sugar than regular cells do. So if you lower your blood sugar and then you put a sugar solution into your blood, those cancer cells are going to absorb the biggest part of it. So what if along with that sugar solution you put in, you also put a chemotherapy drug or 2 or 3 that have been tested to your DNA to show that they are highly selective to work on those cells? So the chemotherapies that will go with this are more likely to kill those cancer cells because there are probably 20 different chemotherapies potentially, and they choose 2 or 3 to go in with this sugar solution, and these cancer cells suck that sugar in, and they also suck the chemotherapy drugs in right along with it, and it has a greater potential to kill those cancer cells because it's more targeted. And the other thing is, they don't have to use as strong of a chemotherapy, they don't have to use as much of the chemotherapy drugs because it's more likely that these drugs will get into the cancer cells and not the healthy cells. Plus, there will be less chemotherapy floating around your body to damage the healthy cells. This IPT therapy uses about 10% of the amount of chemo drugs that traditional chemotherapy does. And when you get online, you're going to read all these experts that will say, oh, well, the problem with that is you're not getting enough chemo to kill the cells. Well, thank you. I would rather not have enough chemo to kill all my good cells. You know, I want to try to do a targeted approach. And maybe it'll work, and maybe it won't. But it's my choice. It's my body. And medicine has not demonstrated to me that they have a superior treatment at this point. If they did, I'd go for it. But because they don't, I'm looking for something that, in my mind, looks scientific, sounds like it could work, and keeps me healthy while I'm doing it. And people that do this IPT therapy don't suffer like traditional cancer treatment patients. Certainly not in the chemotherapy realm. So you can stay healthier, you can continue to build a strong immune system in your body, and you can target the cancer cells and try to kill them selectively, more or less. There's going to be some collateral damage, no getting around it. But it's much more highly specific, and much more likely to have an outcome of you living. Isn't that what the ultimate purpose is? And there would be no surgery involved with this. If I can get on top of this and control this cancer, I shouldn't need surgery, because we should be able to knock these tumors down and still continue to build good health in the body, and we shouldn't have to resort to surgery. So I've read a lot about people and what they go through after they have this type of treatment with standard medicine, and they have the surgery and have their esophagus cut out. There's just all kind of problems that result in the long term. Digestive issues, talk about reflux issues. Your esophagus is no longer a buffer between your stomach and your throat. And there's just a whole myriad of things that go with it in side effects. And then plus, when you couple the radiation and chemo in traditional treatment, your chances of developing a secondary tumor are great, and especially when you consider the fact that your immune system has been knocked down to smithereens, and it's not going to be able to prevent infections or further cancers from forming, because your immune system's depleted because of what you've gone through all that time. So to me, it just makes a lot more sense. And maybe somewhere down the line, somebody's going to go, yeah, that guy was an idiot. He tried that and he died anyway. Well, odds are I'm going to die anyway. So what have I lost? So it's I think, a good approach to take. And I'm very much in favor of the fact that I can stay healthy. As a matter of fact, I plan to work on getting healthier yet. And so this treatment center that I'm going to is out of state. The one I chose is in Florida, and happens that both my kids are in Florida, and I get to spend time with them, and I get to be by my beloved ocean and the beach. And I think that's just a bonus. So that's the direction I'm going. It's not cheap, and it's not covered by insurance, and I'm not wealthy, but you got to do what you got to do at some point. So, like I like to say with this, it is what it is. Why did I get cancer? It is what it is. I spent some time soul searching with that and trying to figure out, how this happened. Then I decided to quit wasting my time on thinking about how it came on. I still think it was taking over-the-counter painkillers late at night, for a while for a tooth issue I had, and burning my esophagus because I went to bed too quick after taking and didn't drink enough water. Please, when you take medication, drink a full glass of water. Make sure it gets to your stomach and doesn't stay in your esophagus, because that's what I think happened to mine. I think I actually burned my esophagus and probably started this whole thing. But so this IPT therapy is part of the picture. The rest of the picture is going to be exercise and diet. And, I talked to my friend Dr. Katz at Yale about this. I told him what was going on, and he was devastated. He says, I don't know what to say. And, and he's one of the smartest guys I know. And, I know he's taken aback by it. But he said, hey, I said, Dr. Katz, I've read that maybe a ketogenic diet, a higher fat diet, actually helps to starve cancer cells because it doesn't produce as much glucose and as much sugar in your blood. But he says, look, I've read volumes of research. I've never seen anything that says that a ketogenic diet stimulates your immune system to work at a higher level. But there are studies that demonstrate clearly that a whole food plant-based diet absolutely does stimulate your immune system. And so I'm going to take the guy at his word. He sent me the study, and I'm going to post that on my website, drvitkohealth.com. So if you get a chance, get on there and read that. And it further supports what I've been telling you all these weeks for a year, folks. A whole food, plant-based diet is the way to go. You want health. You want a great life. You want to have less of a chance of getting cancer, heart disease, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, all these autoimmune diseases. You just need to eat the right food, the food your body's designed to thrive on, and not food that interferes with your health. Because that's what the traditional American diet does. Now, I don't know I think I told you one time about when my mom was in the hospital getting stents put in around her heart. Her Circulation around her heart was blocked up. They're putting stents in. The cardiologist is in the room. They bring her her lunch. It was a heart-healthy diet. It was a pork chop, mashed potatoes with gravy, a white bun, and 2 pats of butter, and some green beans that looked like they were cooking for a week. What is wrong with us? As a society, if we would embrace healthier diet, we would have far less sickness and far less major disease in this country. Now, I look at where I am now. So I've been working 7 years, 8, 10 years, really on a good diet, and not as good as I should lately. I've been great, but I might have gotten this cancer 10 years ago had I not started down that course. And that's what I truly believe, because you can forestall those things, even things. This cancer might have been started in me years ago, maybe decades ago, and finally got to the point where, maybe I had a little weakness in my immune system, or maybe that nighttime dose of ibuprofen or whatever caused that irritation and caused it to form. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I wish I could tell you exactly what caused it, but all I know is I'm probably alive today because I started this diet 10 years ago and started working on it, a decade ago. There's a lot to be gained by improving your diet. You're not necessarily going to beat cancer just with diet, but it's going to be a huge part of my effort, I can tell you that. And I will track everything I do. My patients laugh because I say, I come into my office, I get on my body composition analyzer every day. I record my weight, my body fat. I study this stuff, folks. I want you to learn from it. That's what this is all about. I've devoted my life to this. I've been practicing 34 years. It's time to help people get healthier as much as I can, in a bigger sense. So I'm here sharing that with you, and I want you to benefit from it. Go to drvitkohealth.com. I've got some articles on there I've written so far. Next couple of weeks, I'll have a little extra time. I'm not going to be in my office, so I'm going to be writing more, and I'll have time to think, and you'll probably get some more tidbits out of the back of my brain, which is kind of scary sometimes, but hopefully we'll be able to help everybody get healthier. And my experience with this cancer treatment, you can bet I'm going to share all that with you, and I'm going to be back here every week to share that with you so that you benefit from it. So if you know people who are struggling with cancer, who are just got diagnosed, who are trying to decide which way to go, I promise you, I'm not going to try to sway anybody because it's a very personal opinion. It's a very personal decision. It's your own opinion that you build from your own knowledge. And you have to investigate everything, but I'll give you the facts as I know them. I'm not going to just give you what I think is right and say, do this. That's a wrong way to go. You have to look at all the facts and make a decision from there. So, we'll work at that over the next coming weeks. Hopefully I'm going to be with you for many years to come and delivering this information. But at least over the next few weeks, I'm going to share with you everything that I do. And please make sure you're here every Sunday. If you can't be here on Sunday, listen to the podcast. You can go on iHeartRadio.com and find me. Just put my name in the search line. Or you can go to drvitkohealth.com. They're all posted the day that I do the shows, basically. And the next couple of weeks, I might be doing the show by phone, by a distance, but then I'm going to try to arrange it where I can get in a studio and maybe do it direct. So I'm going to keep you in the loop, and I want you to know everything I know. So, Dr. David Vitko, it's Enjoy Incredible Health, and we'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes. Thanks for listening, folks.
Welcome back to Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.
Okay, a little time for great music because I have a couple of things I got to get across, and we only have a few minutes left. And so this IPT therapy that I'm doing for my diagnosed cancer, folks, it only uses about 10% of the chemo drugs that traditional chemotherapy uses. So I'm going to tell you just real quick that you'll see some banter on the internet about people talking about these conspiracy theorists, basically, that the drug companies don't want this therapy to come out because if it only uses 10% of the chemo drugs, then they'll be losing 90% of their profits. Well, there may be some validity to that because you know that the average cancer patient contributes, through insurance probably, nearly $500,000 to the medical purse, basically, overall. So the medical providers, the drug companies, it's about $500,000 per cancer case, they figure. And there's a lot of cancer in this country. And so there might be some validity, but I think that mostly those are conspiracy theorists. I do, however, think this IPT therapy has great potential because the science, the theory behind it, and it is only a theory, but in my mind it works, and the theory behind it makes total sense to me. And so I'm going to couple that with the alternative therapies that I know have huge potential. There's a lot of other potential alternative therapies out there. Trust me, most of it is BS, like taking mega doses of vitamins. And look, don't pin your hopes on that. People have been doing that for a long time. Steve Jobs was a good example of that. The guy had pancreatic cancer, and he did many different alternative therapies, and he had the money to do whatever he wanted, and it didn't seem to help him. Pancreatic cancer is even a little bit worse than what I have, but still, I think that this therapy has potential, and I'm going to go for it. And I will keep you informed on what happens, so please come back here week after week. Next Sunday, come back because I'm going to have some good information for you. I'm going to tell you what I'm going through, how I feel. Right now, folks, for having a cancer diagnosis, I feel great. I still walk 2 miles briskly every day. I still run 500 steps every day. I still do push-ups every morning and every evening. You know, I'm going to add in a little more weight training. I did that for about 6 weeks. My son had me on a program for just general health, getting stronger, and I was doing better, and then I kind of dropped away from it there. I did feel a little bit weaker for a while, but I'm going to get back to a little bit of strength training because that helps too. Stay in touch. My newsletter, you can sign up at drvitkohealth.com. You can read things about the show on drvitkohealth.com. And on that same website, you can listen to any of my past shows for free. I give it all to you for free. And so you need to take advantage of it, though. It's not going to help you if you don't hear it. So make sure you check that out, drvitkohealth.com. And any way I can help you, if you have questions, you can call my office. We'll have people pass on the phone calls. We'll have somebody checking on things and keeping an eye on things. And I'm here to help you, folks. Dr. David Vitko, I love you all, and I want you all to be well. And stay in touch because it's not going to be long, okay? We're going to be back with you next week. Thanks, folks. Have a great day.